All right.
Go sit over there. Over there.
Yeah.
Check. Okay, hey everybody, welcome. Hello, welcome to the Evolution Asian American Arts Festival produced by AAAC, Asian American Arts Chicago. Special thanks to our host, Looking Glass Theater. I'm Lily Lorgan and I am so excited to be here. Are you guys all having a good time so far? All right, thank you. We've got over 90 performers and almost 30 vendors across 2 days to welcome AAPI Heritage Month with arts and culture. AAAC is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization, and every donation you make to us supports Asian American creativity and excellence. To donate, you can scan the QR codes around the building or drop your change into the donation box after the show. Every amount makes a difference. Thank you for your support. If you want to support further, we've got merch. Please consider getting some merch downstairs. We've got hats, t-shirts, scarves, ranging from $20 to $30. To learn more about the performers, vendors, and artists, you can go to our website, aaac.art. And now I'd like to introduce Ada Cheng. Ada Cheng is an award-winning storyteller and solo performer who uses narrative to challenge structural inequities. Ada creates vital platforms for BIPOC and LGBTQIA voices, blending performance and advocacy to build intimate, socially conscious communities. I'm going to hand it off to her to be the MC for our spoken word showcase. Thank you, Ada.
Thank you so much. Everyone is taller than I am. How's everyone doing? Thank you so much for being here. It's Sunday afternoon, so I really appreciate you being here. It's been a long day, I believe. So I'm going to MC and introduce our storytellers, and I'm very excited about them. The first storyteller, Jeannie Hua, she transitioned from being a criminal defense career to the art after overcoming severe mental health challenges and now incorporating performance. She blends her legal background with powerful narratives of recovery and resilience. And Jeannie took a class with me and she is fabulous. Let's welcome Jeannie.
Hi, how's everybody doing? Good. Yeah? Thank you so much, Ada. She was lying, but you know. Oh. I'm really glad I took a swig Okay. So I'm going to be telling two stories. One of them is going to involve having suicidal ideations. So if anybody here finds that triggering, no judgment. If you need to leave, it's just love in this room, no judgment, okay? So my first story is called Dad. He holds his arm up for me to put his jacket on. His rail-thin arms slide easily through the sleeves. Patrick, my husband, says he's gonna need his shoes. Now, Patrick's presence is unusual. He works all the time, never takes off from work. But this day is unusual because this day, my dad is dying. I hear my mom's voice from the other room. 他的鞋子在前门. I go to the front door and I look down to see the only pair of shoes my dad owns. And as I look down, I notice that there's a hole in the left shoe. And I try not to think about the rows and rows of shoes that I own in my closet. I go to my dad with the shoes and I kneel down before him and I pick up his left foot. 哎呀，女儿，痛啊. I had hurt my dad. My mom had told me that his prostate cancer most likely have spread to his bones. And just by trying to pick up his shoes, I had hurt him. So I gritted my teeth, put his shoes on gingerly. Patrick took one arm, I took the other arm, and we swing like the Rockettes towards the front door. It's 28 steps from the living room to the front door. It is 14 steps from the front door to the car. We put my dad in a passenger seat, and I go back to the house, open the door, tell my mother we're going to the doctor's, and I slam the door shut without waiting for a response. During the car ride, my dad's mumbling to himself. He's talking to the air. And my husband whispers to me, "Do you think that cancer has spread to his brains?" I don't know. I'm not an oncologist. What I didn't want to tell Patrick was that I think the man is speaking to his God, his own personal Jesus. But I didn't want to tell my husband because my husband doesn't believe in God. And I have lost my faith quite a while ago. But here's my dad talking to him. It's kind of hard to argue. And I want to believe there's a God, because that means there's some place for my dad to go to so that he never goes away. We get to the doctor's office, we wait in the waiting room, the nurse comes out, greets my dad. She recognizes him, she takes us back to the exam room, and before she leaves, she pats him on the back and wishes him luck. And I am comforted to know that there are people kind to him when I can't be there. The doctor walks in, he examines my dad, he sits back on his seat and he says, "What's going on?" And I tell him, "Well, doc, I found out today that my dad has stopped getting treatment at Nevada Cancer Institute. Now, that place is awesome. It looks like a Marriott, they take his crappy insurance, top oncologist, despite the fact that we're in Nevada, and they even give him free taxi service. But the problem was they wanted him to enter studies, and he didn't want to be studied like a lab rat. He didn't trust the place. And so when he started making excuses to not go, they would call me and I would take him there. And the last appointment he made was the one that I took him to, but he started to make more excuses. And when they would send a taxi around for him, he would deny it. because he didn't trust them and he thought they were going to charge him for it, even though he was told to be free. So when he told me he was eating asparagus paste, I thought he was eating asparagus paste on top of getting treatment. I didn't realize that he was just eating asparagus paste. And Patrick said, maybe he's tired. This is the third time his prostate cancer came back. And I said, I should have pressed harder. I should have investigated more. And the doctor broke in. You can't make people do what they don't want to do. That's just too difficult. But I do difficult. When we immigrated, when I was 8 years old from Taiwan to the United States, every night my mom would stand next to my bedroom door and tell me that she and Dad had failed in life, that I was their only hope to put myself through college, put myself through graduate school, earn money so that I can buy them a house and support them. And that's what I did. So if I could do that, I can save my dad from cancer. Sorry. So the doctor explained, your dad has been coming to see me, even though I'm a general practitioner and not an oncologist. And I've been trying to explain that to him. I can't tell if he understands, but I have seen his tests and the cancer has spread to his bones, has spread to his brain. And I have been recommending hospice instead of chemo, which would have been the next step, because his body is too old and frail for chemo. When I heard the word hospice, my face was numb and tingly at the same time. I don't know how that's possible. Hospice is where people go to die. My dad's not dying. That's what happens to other people. They lose their dads. I'm not losing my dad. And so I turn to my dad and say in broken Mandarin how his choice is hospice or chemo, and he chooses chemo. And the doctor sighs, wishes us luck, and he leaves the room. We make our way back to my parents' house, and I'm sitting across the family room from my dad, and he's staring over my shoulder at the screen door out to the backyard. And he's still talking to himself and nodding. And as I'm sitting across from him, I try not to think about that motion I need to file for my murder client, or how that sexual assault client has been calling me to go visit him, and whether Patrick's dry cleaning needs to be picked up yet, and what's going to happen to that basket of organic vegetables from Quail Hollow Farm that I was supposed to pick up yesterday, and whether my 3-year-old type 1 diabetic daughter, recently diagnosed, is hyper or hypoglycemic, and whether or not it's time for me to go to her preschool and give her an insulin shot so she can have her lunch. All of a sudden, my dad looks intently over my shoulder at the screen door and nods and says, 她是好女儿，她做什么都是给父母. The anvil that's been sitting in my stomach shoots up to my throat. What did he say? And he nods and he repeats himself. 她是好女儿，她做什么都是给父母. Incredulous, I turn to my husband and I say, honey, I think my dad just told the screen door that I'm a good girl. I've done everything for my parents. And Patrick says, that's nice, honey, but I got to get back to work. I won't go into the last week of my dad's life spent at the hospital. I won't go into him enduring tests after tests after he no longer understood why he was there. I won't go into how he was ripping out his IVs and he kept flashing himself to me and the staff saying, this is my body and it's a beautiful natural thing. There is nothing to be ashamed of. And he's right. But what got me through that week and what's getting me through even now is that screen door back at my parents' house knows that I'm a good girl, that everything I've done has been from my parents. Thank you. Now that I've stopped choking, my next story is called The Plan. About 11 years ago, as I pulled into the courthouse parking lot, with my hand still on the steering wheel, I realized I have no memory of driving to court at all. I have no idea how I got there. I had no memory of driving because I was so intent on this plan that I had in my mind. I was going to get into the best physical shape of my life. I'm thinking a blend of cardio and strength training, because it's not just enough to be thin, but you should be toned too. And I was definitely going to be wearing a swimsuit. And I wasn't sure if I should get a one piece because that would really support my figure, or a two piece, which would show off my figure. But I was definitely going to be wearing a red swimming suit because that really flatters my complexion. Once I got into the best physical shape, I'm talking AI generated female body, I was going to give myself an enema. And that's because when you die, every orifice relaxes and all bodily fluid leaks out. And then I was going to take a shower, put on the red bathing suit, go to the safe, take the 6 hour 380 that my husband had gifted me for Valentine's Day one year. I was going to take my phone, go in the shower, call 911, let them know where I'm at. Now, and I was going to stick the barrel into my mouth. Now that's very important because I had a hiking buddy who's a physical therapist. And during our hikes, she would regale us with stories of her patients who were survivors of suicide. And they would be brain damaged instead of dead. And they would need the help of physical therapists. So after doing the deed, the EMTs would arrive and go, "Oh my gosh, she is in such great shape," as they load me up on the stretcher. And all they needed to do was take me out, and then Patrick would hire someone to spray down the shower, and then voila, it's like I've never been there. It's even before that day, I knew that the edges were cracking. Even months before, I knew that the center were going to collapse. And so what I did was I hired an au pair, a French au pair. So 6'2" Miss Marine showed up at the door, and she took care of my children. But before we get to that point, I was still gripping the steering wheel of my car, and I finally realized that what I was experiencing was not normal. So I made my court appearances, and I went to my jail visits, and on the way home, I called my husband, and I said, "I need to close my law firm. There is something seriously wrong." And he said, "We need the money." And so I told him my plan, and as well as the part where, even though I am deeply ashamed of wanting to leave my 3 children, at that time ages 10, 8, and 5. And I told him how this plan had so consumed my mind that it drowned out their voices to me. And the thing is, I'm ashamed, but the power of rationalization is so strong. My husband's hot, he'll find another wife who will take better care of my children because clearly I'm whacked. And so when I finally told him my plan, he said, okay. And so that's when Miss Maring arrived. She took care of my kids. She got them ready for school. She took them to school, picked them up, made food for them, read them before bed, put them to bed. And she saved my family and she reassured my children with her quiet, steady presence. And we're friends to this day. Miss Marie, who knew French women could be so big and so kind at the same time? Oh my God, that was such an asshole thing to say. Okay, sorry. So during those 6 months when Miss Marie took care of my kids, I just slept and I only left my bed to go to the bathroom. And my husband said, you know what, Jeannie, why don't you just be an artist? You've always wanted to be an artist. And I said, the lawyer part of me said, do you understand that as an artist, I will not be earning an income. I will be financially dependent on you. Is that something you're consenting to? And he said, yes, yes. And so the 48-year-old me started taking art classes at the local community college. I was petrified as to how those 18, 19-year-olds were going to receive me. And a friend of mine said, Jeannie, if you work hard and you are good and you're kind to people, they're going to respond to you. And that's exactly what happened. And a teacher friend of mine, who's my friend to this day, she had encouraged all her art students to apply for exhibitions and artist residencies. And the very first artist residency I got into was in France. I was so happy. And then I thought, how good can the residency be if they wanted me? And then I thought, wait a minute, maybe it's a human trafficking ring. Then I thought, is there a market for middle-aged Taiwanese American women? Wow, that's really niche specific, isn't it? In February of 2025, I had a solo show in New York City. I had imposter syndrome so badly that my weight plummeted down to 120 pounds. The perfect weight for that swimming suit. I didn't wear it, but I wore it in Hawaii by the pool with a beer in my hand and watched the kids snorkel. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jeannie. Wonderful. Thank you. You make me proud. All right, our next, how's everyone doing? Good, good, wonderful. Our next storyteller, Ivy McPherson, is a mixed-race Korean playwright, poet, and essayist. Her work orbits around the themes of transfeminine identity, ancestry, sexuality, and religious upbringing. Let's welcome Ivy. Okay. All right. Good.
Okay, I don't want to hurt you. Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
This is good.
Yeah, I think so.
You can kind of project. This is good.
Kind of tall. Can I move it up?
Okay,
there we
perfect.
go. Hi guys. This is my first public reading ever. So this is this is fun, but also scary, but also fun. I'm excited to read for you all. What I'm gonna be reading is this like sort of an essay collection that I finished last winter. It was my first time writing nonfiction essays, which I don't normally do, but I wanted to foray into it. And I published it myself as sort of like a zine project It's this series of essays that I wrote mainly surrounding like my mixed race identity and my upbringing and how that influences me today. So I'm going to be reading some essays from that today for you guys. Let's see if I can move this up. Yeah, it's okay. So the first essay that I'm going to be reading, hello, is this louder? Okay. The first essay that I'm going to be reading is called Triptych for the Damaged, and it is, you should move this. All right, here we go. It is an essay that I wrote from 3 different perspectives. It's from my Haji, colloquially my grandpa, that's just the Korean word, who was born in South Korea, grew up during the Korean War, was orphaned during the Korean War, and then immigrated to America. My dad, who is from Arkansas, white guy, never met an Asian person until my mom, which is crazy. And then me. So yeah, this is my first piece. It's called Triptych for the Damaged. Part 1, song. Seoul, South Korea, 1950. The dawn breaks over the hill weeping with blood. It runs in bright streaks down to the rice paddies, turning the water crimson. I am knee-deep in the cold mud, shivering, plunging my hand into the water's surface, plucking a sheaf of rice. Suddenly the blood is hot, coiling around my ankles, red in the aura of the red dawn, and I hear her scream Oma as the bullet splits her skin. At the corners of my vision, I see her dying, me running, a 7-year-old boy in a war zone. The rice stalks around me point upwards like the fingers of the dead pointing to a dead heaven. No one knows me now. I have run away from home, away from my father and mother and the bones of my dead sister into the alien countryside, carrying nothing. I am hungry. I will have to find some way to eat. An old woman in a cottage by the woods lets me in from the cold. I carry the loose bundle of rice inside, spilling grains over the raw earth floor, and sit by the low table in the main room, shaking. She pours barley tea and cooks my rice over a fire and leaves me sitting on the bare floor, listening to an old man in the next room breathe hoarsely, wheezing like a broken bellows. She doesn't seem to notice. She brings me a bowl, and we sit together, me and this woman I do not know, eating soft bowls of rice. I still remember what a warm feeling it is, being cared for, how it rests in your bones like hot whiskey. She turns to me, questions swimming in her eyes. Where are your parents? And how are you still alive? And what have you seen that you wish to forget? I wonder the same at her, and we look at each other, our faces glyphic, unreadable to each other as to ourselves. She sticks her chopstick into the rice mound and pulls a chunk to her mouth. The old man snores in the next room. He sounds like my father. I shiver at the memory. A year later, in our house, which is mostly rubble, my father is a harrowed man. I can't see past his eyes into that cordoned off mind of his. Eyes are like diligent archivists who inscribe all they see in unerasable texts entombed by memory. And the things we don't say, we don't, because to do would to acknowledge it happened, which is the first step to unraveling. If they could speak, my father's eyes, they'd say, "You don't know the half of it." He is sitting on a mat on the floor, staring at a prim bowl of soup, watching it cool. I am staring at him, his face newly unfamiliar. "What happened to Mom?" I ask. He stares down at the soup. It's the same one she always made, solung tang, but the broth is all wrong. You can see it in the color, off-white, like faux marble. His eyes tell the story. I can listen without hearing. Part 2, Eric. Arkansas, USA, 1991. He won't even look at me. The waiter brings fresh coffee and buttered biscuits, and he is staring into the road, unreadable. Neither have any appetite. It's not my fault, I tell him. He takes his coffee black, without ceremony, like everything else. He's a Southern magnolia firmly rooted in the land and values that reared him, anathema to all else. He stirs it a few times, just a black, bitter mug of tar. A long moment passes between us. It's rare we have a conversation in public, let alone about my recent divorce. Who made the choice, he says. She did. He looks out the window. We both keep scanning the sun-drenched road as if someone will walk out of it and save us from having to bare our hearts to each other. As if my ex-wife will walk in any minute, sit down at the table with us and tell us it was a joke. I can feel his disappointment burning through me, scorching my guts, leaving me emptier than ever. Neither of us ever know what to say. He wipes the corners of his mouth with a napkin. Your mom will be upset. The plates all around us keep clinking like a ceramic orchestra. It all smells like bacon down here. All anybody in the South ever wants is a piece of fried fat swimming in more fat. Someday I'll leave this place with its aura of hot must and swamps and things that never really change. My dad keeps looking out the window and I look at him. So what'll you do now, he says. I take a job at a car factory in Granite City, Illinois, a place not really a place at all, but an idea that wanted to be a place. A fragment of the days of company towns and family swims in the Mississippi River before it was muddled with steel runoff. I live alone in a studio apartment. At night, the roaches speak to me. They say, "Who will love you now? Don't you want a family?" Their voices sound like my ex-wife's. One night, I have a dream that a young boy with long hair and shining eyes peers at me from beyond a stand of wild brush, his hair blowing. He stays that way for a while, kind of smiling, like only he knows something is about to change, and I'll just have to wait to find out. Lake Forest, Illinois, USA, 2025. My white father and my Haji stand at the top of the stairs in the garage, looking down as my Haji grasps his shoulder for support, and they start down the stairs, going real slow, one step at a time, because he is now 86 and cannot walk on his own. I lean against the car, unhelpful as usual, hungry, upset over some interchangeable cis girl who spurred me yet again. He takes one step and shakes a little, and my dad holds him tighter. He is firm yet careful in his grip, as if helping him too much might wound him in some deep way, as my Haji is harrowed now, and it's a shame that he carried his back so straight for 86 years only for it to buckle at the end of his life under invisible grief. They shimmy down the last step of the stairs, and my Haji lets go, and the two uncouple. In my jeans pocket, my phone buzzes, and I check it. It is a notification from Walgreens telling me the Prozac is available for pickup. They rest, standing in the slanted sun through the garage windows, and my dad looks proud. Sweaty, but proud, like he's trying his best, but he's not sure if it's working. He walks to the car and unlocks it, and opens the door for him. My Haji starts to shamble over, and for a moment, I'm the median of both. My Haji hunched, shuffling, tainted by war and starvation. My dad, clean of all sorrows, holding the door open, wearing an Arkansas Razorback t-shirt, and me between them, a shoddy patchwork of converging histories. He opens the garage door, and it slinks up with a mechanical whir, and the morning spring sunshine floods in like a river. I look at the garden he built, brimming with flowers. They waft through the air, perfumed, hanging over us. It's almost like the whole world was always like this, hypnotic and sweet-smelling, and the pain of our past dissolves with each morning dew. Only our bones hold the mystery of how we survived. We stand there, looking at my Haji climb into the passenger seat to go to his dialysis appointment. He looks calm as a damaged man can be. The dead remain archived in a language we long to forget. What we've built will exceed us. This land nothing but a graveyard for the living to plant gardens over, before entering its worm-rotted skin, where we will rest for millennia, forgetting all we have learned to endure. Okay, that's the first piece. This might be a silly request, but would it be possible to get like water or something, like a cup of water? I don't know why. Maybe it's the lights or something, but I'm like sweating like crazy. I might sit down also. Sure, yeah, is that okay? Thank you.
I don't mind as long as you don't mind.
Okay, yeah. Maybe I also just dressed warm today. I don't know. Okay. Adjusting. Okay. Thanks for listening to that first one, guys. My second one, oh man, guys, I'm sorry I'm so sweaty. My second one is called The Merits of Pho. I wrote this one last winter after me and my dad got pho together on Argyle Street. It was a very weird experience. It's like, oh, thank you so much. That's very helpful. I don't know how many like mixed people there are here, like fellow mixed people, but yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I think it's a very weird experience to go get Asian food with the parent who is not Asian. I think that's a very weird experience, and I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to write about it because I was like, this is fascinating. Okay. Yeah, this is my second piece. My transient drunken crush for tonight is on the bed in front of me while the world around us spins. It's not my bed, it's another girl's, the host of the party who is nowhere to be found. It's oddly quiet there in her bedroom with the door cracked, the small light from her nightstand illuminating our bare legs thrown up onto the sheets inches from each other. She tilts her head up, puts her lips to her drink, and takes a good long swig, and I watch her as she does, wondering what it must feel like to be pretty, cis, and unencumbered. She wipes her mouth off. She looks at me. I'm trying to understand you, she says, her eyes searching, and where this anger is coming from. Her coral lip gloss shines in the lamplight, and the shadows of the train passing just outside the open window twist and dance on the walls, and the world goes on mute. We hear the iron, the sparks, and we look at each other, waiting for something, neither of us quite knowing what that thing is. As always with cis women, I can't tell if what I want is to kiss her or be her, and I want to tell her this. I want to tell her I don't mean to be angry, I just deeply resent the people who made me this way. Instead, the deafening roar of the train outside the window speaks for me, and I move my legs away from hers as the two of us wait, bared for each other. In the main room, everyone is dancing, the lights dazzling under the small crack of the door. We can hear them through the walls. She looks at me, expectant. I have nothing to give her. Then, like a meteor, a voice, quick and soundless, enters my brain. It is my dad, and I'm 19, sitting in my childhood bedroom, as he tells me, "You're going to have to figure out what to do about your anger. It's not fair of you to hate me for something I said 4 years ago." Her and I are on the bed now, sitting close like when my parents used to read me stories, and the old anger like a flash flood rises within me, hot and wild. The train keeps passing, sending its shadows our way, screaming at us. I hear his voice again. "You're going to transition to a girl, but also date girls? That doesn't make sense." I smooth my bangs out on my forehead. I hope that she likes them. I hope she knows it's not my fault. I hope she knows that I'm trying. All I do when I'm drunk is sit in a dark room and ruminate. My sadness pervades, even in the good moments. It's kind of funny. Trauma is like a broken ham radio. It can't be turned off. It only changes its volume depending on the day. Am I expecting too much for wanting others to like me? I try my best to be fun. I really do. The past hangs over me like dark mist over a meadow. What do I even have to be angry about? I'll start with this. 2 weeks before the party, my dad came up to Chicago to take me to lunch. "I'm gonna come visit you," he had told me. "You seem sad." "Okay," I said, no enthusiasm in my voice. I just can't fake it anymore. We walked up the bright lakeshore path to Foster Beach, where on beautiful warm days like this, gay couples sit on picnic blankets under the tall trees, eating fruit or just basking in the sun like house cats. I always worry my dad will say something, but he never does. The last time I heard him openly mention a queer person was discussing his church friend's daughter bringing her girlfriend to their adult Bible group in Missouri that meets in a little ranch house out in the sticks every Sunday night. Lainey brought her girlfriend to Bible group, he told me unannounced one day. She's nice. That conversation ended quickly. Worst of all is when we're in public together, especially in the notoriously gay mid-north side of Chicago, and we walk past a trans woman, and he tries to play it off like he doesn't notice, but I know he does. And for a moment, we both lock on to the same places: wide shoulders, a prominent chest, the faint shadow of a beard. And I know in that moment, he sees the manifestation of an inexorable future he has long tried to impede. His only son is transitioning into a woman. I have a selection of plain blue or gray collared shirts I keep in the back of my closet, specifically for the purpose of seeing him, as it's easier for us to ignore the truth than dredge up old fights. Only, now that I've been on estrogen for an entire year, the hard golf ball-sized lumps on my chest, where my breasts are developing, are starting to poke out through the thin fabric of men's shirts. So today, I've resorted to wearing a sweatshirt in the middle of summer. In addition, I haven't shaved, just to prove to my dad that I'm not that far gone. I look like a troop of small dwarves trying to pass as a man. We stand on the promontory at Foster Beach, looking out onto the bleach stand, the men and women tanning topless on the baking shore. Sammy's doing well, my dad says. He's getting older. Sammy is our dog. That's good, I say. Sometimes I get the feeling that we've run out of things to talk about, or we've never had that much to begin with, which makes sense given the ferocity of the words we've exchanged in our past. When I was 15, I told him I was trans, and he told me, "I will kick you out if you ever transition under this roof." Understood? And we moved on with our lives like it had never happened at all. I did my thing in private. I brought changes of clothes out with me when I'd see my friends. It's all in the past now, dulled over like the spokes of the bikes we used to ride together on trails past St. Charles, gliding along the banks of the Missouri River and stopping for lunch afterwards in the historic downtown. That was before I came out and we stopped talking for a few years. Getting lunch is the only way we can bond anymore. I'm sure he'd prefer to get a burger instead, but I'm half Asian, plus I live in Uptown near the Vietnamese neighborhood. So I asked to go for a walk and stop by the Pho 777 for lunch. After we sit, the waiter pours us fresh tall glasses of water and I order beef pho Thai. I'll just have chicken fried rice, he decides. Our ethnicities are another barrier between us. My mom, being fully Korean, gave me olive skin, dark hair, and thin eyes, and her maiden name repurposed to be my middle name, Han, which loosely translates to a feeling of unresolved sorrow or anger. My dad, with his dirty blonde hair, blue eyes, and palish skin, is almost entirely free of trauma. For him, there is no past to ruminate on, no feelings of dread about the imminent future, only a somewhat illusory present where he is in Chicago, getting lunch with his fugitive child, eyeing the door to make sure no one she knows sees her like this, boy moding, looking like a sad impression of her past self. When our food comes, we eat in silence, which is our trademark, and I squeeze ropes of sriracha and hoisin sauce into the murky broth. Sprigs of cilantro and mint and shriveling scraps of dark meat swirl in a whirlpool of brown and green. Like me, pho is an object of uncertain origin, and though scholars debate whether it was born through French colonization or imitation of Chinese stews, it remains floating between cultures like a child of divorce. The next day, my therapist asks me what I was feeling during this luncheon. I don't know, I tell her. I just like eating pho. The scent of lemongrass mixing with his Axe body cologne brings me back to that highway going into Memphis 2 years ago. On a whim, I had joined my two best friends on an impromptu road trip to see Elvis's mansion. I had woken up gasping, reeling from nightmares at the crack of dawn, and threw on a long-sleeve shirt and some jeans and said goodbye to my parents and got in the back of his cluttered car. I slept the whole ride there and woke to the sound of the car being parked and the engine shutting off. We idled on the curb just outside the wall leading into Graceland, the two of them sharing a cigarette, blowing the smoke out the window, the sun and sweat glistening on their faces, totally displaced in this odd southern world like we were aliens from a strange land to which we were trying to navigate back. We took twigs and rocks from the alley of trees along the sidewalk and carved our names into the stone walls, keeping us out. My dead name, the name my dad still calls me, rests forever on that stone wall outside Graceland, along with the names of thousands of other jilted travelers like a monument to the slain. That day, I remember sitting in a pho shop, just like with my dad, in downtown Memphis at dusk, the sun melting and cresting over the top of the Bass Pro Pyramid in the distance, shining through the barred up windows of the dining room. That summer, I was 19. I had come out to my dad for the second time, only to receive a response only marginally better than the first time 4 years ago. You're an adult, he told me. You can make your own decisions. I don't have to like them. August was encroaching, and so too the day when I'd have to move all my stuff into my new apartment in Chicago, the first time I'd be living in a place of my own. That day, I was desperately trying to figure out what I wanted. Be a girl and lose my family, or keep my family but never be a girl. Earlier, as we were browsing the pyramid's myriad collection of ready-to-purchase assault rifles, my friend had looked me in the eye and told me, "You need to cut them off." From the second floor balcony of the weapons gallery, the alligators in their torpid pool by the elevators looked like miserable tourists, wincing at the amusement park light of the building. I'd wondered if they missed it, their muddy womb in the Mississippi, or if they'd even known it at all, if they were raised to crave captivity. A father was carrying his son on his back to look over the guardrail, him decked out in child-sized hunting gear, showing what it means to be a man, the both of them smiling, white teeth with white skin. I guess that's how it was supposed to be. I can't say I didn't try. I played basketball, learned how to shoot so you'd be proud of me. I went camping with you, I read the Bible, prayed to be cured of the sickness that made you hate me. That day, I had wanted to run away for good. Get a little flat in Memphis by myself, chop it off, change my face, get a new driver's license with a new name so you can't find me. Bury the boy you loved for good. Grow a garden with his ashes, whatever would piss you off. I am too weak to leave, and I love you too much to spurn you, but I hate you too much to be around you. That son you so desperately wanted, I am sure in some other universe, he is sitting at the rooftop restaurant at the top of the Bass Pro Pyramid with you, looking out onto the concrete vistas of Memphis, ordering a rare steak and cutting into it with animal pleasure, letting the juice dribble down his chin. I bet he isn't trans, and I'm certain he wouldn't be sitting in the back of the hot dining room at the Pho 7077, uncomfortably sweaty in his thick sweatshirt, staring out the window at the summer-clothed passers-by, waiting with his dad for the check in a silence that is unbearably loud.
Wow.
That's my piece. Thank you guys. I think that is all I'm going to read today. I have some copies of my book, so if you would like to purchase one from me, just find me after the show. I will be sticking around. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Ivy, I know this is the first time we met. I'm so proud of you.
Thanks.
Beautiful work. And you're so much taller than I am. So, all right, I'm going to read a piece. A dark-skinned woman of color in a formal pantsuit stepped out of her office and announced my name, Shuju. She said my first name, even though the intonation wasn't quite right. I stood up and nodded. I followed her into her office and sat in the chair she indicated. She walked around the desk and then paused, turned back, and pulled a tall folder of documents from the cabinet behind her. She placed it squarely on the desk. My heart jumped. I was there for my citizenship interview. I wasn't worried about the history questions, the exam portion of the process. What concerned me was the requirement of the good moral character. with that thick file sitting directly in my line of sight, my entire life in the United States, 24 years of it flashed before me. What exactly did it have on me? I searched my memory, trying to recall if I had made mistakes somewhere along the way. That was how unsure I was. Yes, 24 years. I did my citizenship interview in 2015, even though I have first entered the United States as an international student in 1991. It took me that long because switching from a student visa to permanent residency was anything but simple. From 1991 to 2001, I was an international student working toward my master's degree and PhD. It wasn't until 2001 when I secured a tenure track position at a university that I finally had an employer willing and able to sponsor my green card. After receiving permanent residency, I waited another 10 years before applying for American citizenship. Yet that interview in 2015 was far from my first encounter with the US immigration system. My first time came in 1991 at the American consulate in Taiwan when I applied for a student visa to attend graduate school in the United States. And that was after years of learning English, taking multiple exams, filling out endless applications, and paying hundreds of dollars in fees. I finally received several offers from the American universities. I was scheduled to leave for the United States on July 15th, 1991. I still remember the moment that made my heart jump. I stood in front of an immigration officer, an older white man with a full beard, who was seated behind a bulletproof window. What do you plan to do? I'm attending school at the University of Oregon, Eugene, Oregon. What are you pursuing? A master's degree in international studies. What do you plan to do after that? I hope to go to Latin America to become a correspondent. Are you married? Do you have children here? No, I'm not married, no children. Are you traveling alone or with someone else? I'm traveling by myself. Do you have family in the United States? I have an uncle in Texas and an aunt in Ohio. They moved to the States a long time ago. We're not in contact. Are they American citizens? Yes. I won't be able to approve your visa application. Wait. We don't have any contact. I'm going to a different state for school. Sorry, you can't prove to me that you will return to Taiwan after you finish your studies. My heart jumped as I watched him reject my application. I stood there frozen like an iceman, even though I had never seen snow in my life. I took my passport and walked toward the exit. Tears began falling even before I left the building. It was my first visa application to anywhere. Denied. Dreams gone. It felt like a life sentence. I was 27 years old. In 1991, the United States was the destination. Other countries were not yet popular among Taiwanese students. I had spent years preparing for a way out of Taiwan. I wasn't escaping poverty. I was searching for freedom. I needed autonomy as a woman. The prospect of spending decades on the island while fending off social pressure to marry and have children didn't feel like a life sentence. It felt like a death sentence. I was trying to escape for a different reason. I had to build a home somewhere else for myself. How do you prove to someone what you will or will not do 3 years into the future? How do you prove that you are not a risk factor? In 1991, during the presidency of Senior George Bush, the US government instructed certain embassies and consulates to tighten visa approvals because too many international students were staying after graduation. Taiwan was one of the targeted places. I have family members in the United States. Regardless of how distant those relationships were, I was considered more likely to stay. Strike one. I was single, unmarried, with no husband or children in Taiwan. I was assumed to have no incentive to return. Strike two. I was traveling alone without a partner, a boyfriend, or a husband. I was assumed to be more likely to marry an American and stay in the United States. Strike three. What if I, as a woman or as a queer woman, had no intention of getting married at all? That was my first encounter with the US immigration. The truth is, the system has always been there. It tightens, it loosens, but it never disappears. I returned to the consulate later and was interviewed by a different officer, a clean-cut young white man. This time, my visa was approved. I jumped up and down in front of that bulletproof window when he stamped on my passport. He even chuckled at my excitement. He didn't know the visa wasn't just for school. It meant freedom for me. The biggest lesson I learned that day was this: an officer can single-handedly turn your life into heaven and hell. After all, decision-making at a human level is always subjective. Decades later, during my citizenship interview, a tall folder of documents could still make my heart jump, just as it had the first time. I did become an American citizen, but I have never felt relaxed about immigration issues, not even with an American passport in hand, which I have been carrying for 10 years. Because even official documents will never be formal enough for some. An anxiety that has lasted a lifetime, home away from home, since 1991. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Can we give a round of applause to Ivy and Jeannie? Thank you so much for being here and enjoy your festival. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
I really understand the sweating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something with the lights.
Well,
And then I am gonna kick all of y'all out